Hey team, welcome back to the product channel. In today's video, we're going to discuss what separates the best product managers from the rest and how you can become indispensable in 2024. So let's get to it. So first up is visionary thinking. The best product managers don't just manage products, they envision the future. They figure out where the product is going to be every step of the way, 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, even 3 years from now. I remember I had a product roadmap for 2.5 years. And I remember thinking I had such vision for these products. And the way that I did this was by staying informed. I constantly knew the market trends and where the industry was heading. If there was any shifts in the market that could potentially affect the future of the product. And then, I had to really think about the bigger picture when it came to these things. You have to think about big pictures. You can't just stay bogged down with day-to-day tasks and just continually just go in iterations and okay, this is my day, this is a week from now. You have to think about the future of the product. And in addition to that, you need to innovate continuously. You have to create an environment where, ideas are constantly shared. You're constantly innovating, doing things differently, figuring out what works and what doesn't. So when it comes to that visionary thinking, those 3 things, staying informed and thinking big picture and continuously innovating, are so important as a good PM to separate yourself from the rest. So next is customer-centric mindset. So this is so crucial as a product manager because the best product managers deeply understand their customers and prioritize their needs. And the way that they do this is by really diving into customer research. Obviously, you can send out surveys and you can have one-way mechanisms of getting feedback from your customers, but it's also really important to talk to them as well. And when you have these thorough research moments, whether it's through surveys or interviews, you find a way to really prioritize their pain points. And you can understand not just what their customers need, but why they need it. Then you need to create empathy maps. This is very important, especially to add value to that customer-centric mindset, because you can really see the customer journey and be able to go into their pain points to really give products that resonate with them, to really fulfill their needs. A lot of the times, if you just go into the user interviews and the surveys, those are great, but you can see with a user empathy map where those pain points are hitting. What are they talking about? You can really add validation to what they're saying and be able to deliver for them in ways that they may have never imagined. Then you should iterate based on the feedback, because it's easy to iterate continuously, but if you're not getting feedback regularly from your customers, you're kind of throwing that customer-centric mindset out of the window. It's more of okay, well, what are we gonna do next? And obviously the business that you work for and the organization has its own goals, but those goals need to align with the customer needs and vice versa. So getting that feedback, you'll be able to iterate not only continuously, but in ways that benefit the customer and the business. Then you have effective communication. This is another hallmark, if you will, for product managers. It's just so important to be able to communicate effectively. So by communicating effectively and concisely, you're able to really drive the product forward. So whether it's an email, whether it's a PowerPoint presentation, even a Slack message, really having that clear, concise communication is really going to be important for you as a product manager. And then you have your active and proactive listening. Obviously, listening in general is really important, but being proactive when you're listening, you know, asking the real questions that maybe others wouldn't want to ask, and kind of sticking your neck out there and being like, you know, taking notes. I always do this. Like when I'm listening to a customer, I am proactively taking notes. And that's what I mean about proactive listening. It's not interrupting the customer in the middle of what they're saying. It's taking notes, because honestly, I'm a note taker and I can't remember everything. So for me, when I think of proactive listening, it's taking those notes and saying, okay, I'm really listening to what they're saying so I can ask these questions later. And a part of effective communication is tailoring your communication. You know, I talked about this in one of the videos for the superpowers of a product manager. And in that video, we discussed psychological prowess, which is understanding different personalities and work styles. And this goes into that, because the way that you communicate to one person may not hold true for another person. And you really need to read the room and understand the audience so that you are effective when you're communicating product strategy, you know, follow-ups, or anything else in the pipeline for the product. In addition to that, you need to tailor your communication. You know, I spoke about this in one of my other videos for like the 5 superpowers of a product manager. And I discussed psychological prowess, which is understanding different personalities and work styles. And I think this really holds true for effective communication, because you're gonna need to be able to obviously read the room and understand the different needs of your stakeholders, your leadership team, your cross-functional teams, engineers, designers, and your customers. So you can adapt your communication style based on your audience. You know, some people are visual, others may require, you know, an SOP or a PRD, whatever the case is, but whomever you're communicating with, just make sure that you're going to communicate in a way with them that they understand what you're trying to accomplish for the business and the goals of the product, and ultimately make the customer happy. So then you have strategic thinking. This sets apart the best product managers. They can really drive those decisions through data and develop a strategy based on real numbers and data that aligns with the company's goals, the expectations of the customers, and the overall team. You know, really driving the data, making those data-driven decisions are really important to develop a strategy that makes sense for all parties involved. When you're making these data-driven decisions, you're gonna use and leverage analytics. And that is extremely, extremely important when it comes to strategic thinking, because you can't really base it off of intuition. It's a rarity that it would actually succeed. So this is one of those situations where it's like, in order to be a strategic thinker, you need to have those data-driven decisions. So you're ultimately gonna leverage that data to inform decisions. Then you have competitive analysis. So I like to do the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Some people do it for their business and they'll put where there's threats, like the competitors. I actually do this for the competitors. I figure out their strengths, their weaknesses, where their opportunities are, which we can take advantage of, and their threats. And this is just so important, because by really understanding, you know, your competitors, you can find a way to take over their market share and make yourself indispensable in the market. And you should regularly conduct this competitive analysis so that if anything changes on your competitor's end or your end, you know that what you have in the roadmap will still hold true. So by conducting this competitive analysis frequently, you're staying up to date on the current strengths and opportunities of your competitors. Also, when it comes to strategic thinking, you really need to make sure that you're aligning the business goals. This is very important. I talked about it in one of my other videos about business viability, making sure that what you're working on aligns with the company's overall objectives. And if you can find a way to do this, you're going to eventually find a lot of growth within the product. And obviously this all aligns with strategy, because you need a strategy that makes sense for the business and the customers as a whole. So let's talk about a versatile skill set. So it's no longer, where specialists were considered unicorns, especially in 2024. This is actually trending. A lot of product managers now, they have the specialist skill set. I discussed in the 2010s where if you had a specialist skill set, you could demand a higher salary and you were considered, the creme de la creme. Well, it's not really like that anymore. And the ways that people are expanding on their skill set is to learn the basics of coding. You don't have to be like this coding machine, but learning the basics of coding is something that's really going to add versatility to your skill set, and understanding UI and UX design so you can see how customers are making their decisions and where they could be struggling, where their pain points are, and getting behind the customer with the designer and really seeing the design team do their work. And you can learn so much from the design team. Then there's understanding of the different marketing strategies. So by understanding different marketing strategies, you're able to align with the customer needs and know that the product enhancements and the features that you put into the product are gonna give the customers, what they ultimately need. Then you have empathy. Empathy is a critical trait for a product manager. It really does set you apart from the rest, from a great PM to, the other side. I don't think there's a bad product manager, but, at the end of the day, having empathy is just so important in life in general, and it's something that's trending in 2024. But to have empathy for your customers, but also for your teammates and for those around you, is a critical trait that will really set you apart from the rest. And one way to do this is by practicing active listening. I spoke about this previously, and being very proactive in your approach. Like I said, when people see you take notes, I think that kind of makes them feel good to notice that you're paying attention, you're not interrupting them, you have, goals for them and you want to discuss it, and you really want to help them. So practicing that active listening, proactive listening is very crucial, how you show empathy. And also, show genuine concern. I think a lot of the times, we may just scruff it off, okay, whatever, like you had a bad day or we didn't do this, okay. And sometimes people just need to feel heard, but they also want to know that you genuinely care about them. And some people, they wear their heart on their sleeves, and that's the way that they show their genuine concern. Others have different ways of showing that they care. Maybe they'll send a text later or whatever, but be very self-aware that when somebody's going through something or mentions something, if you genuinely care about them, they're gonna see it. Even if it's just a touch point to see how they're doing. I do that sometimes, and I'll just check in with my teammates, especially, if I know that they're going through something that we spoke about last time. I'd be like, hey, how you doing? Send a message, get on a call. Those things are really, really important. And not just for your teammates, but also for your customers. If something went wrong with the product, or you really see a pain point, you're looking through, the customer journey, the workflow, the empathy map, whatever the case is, it's important to have that empathy, and for them to see that you're genuinely concerned about giving them what they need. And then having that emotional intelligence so that you can really understand others. And having emotional intelligence really helps to navigate complex situations and dynamics. So finally, you have leadership and influence. Your best product managers know how to lead and influence and manage their teams effectively. So I always believe that you really can lead through soft influence. It's not that dictatorial approach, and being able to have that trust in your teammates and for them to have that trust in you so that you can effectively influence them and lead them into the right direction. So one way that you can do this is to empower your team. And you can do this by delegating tasks to give them more responsibility, and that's great. But when I think of empowering, my teammates, is constantly reiterating the good work that they're doing and making sure that they're appreciated. And that really helps build their morale, keeps them going. And obviously, you want to give them more responsibility, so you can do that as well. So it really reiterates to them like, hey, I'm doing a good job, and it makes them feel really good. So then you need to lead by example. So like I said, with Microsoft, they have a model approach with their 𝐒𝐫𝐨𝐝 model leadership framework. And it's just so important to stand behind what you say and to really practice that. And you should model your behavior so that it's not just like you're saying something and you're not believing in it. So people are gonna wanna follow you if you can really set the example for what you're saying. And then you really need to build those strong relationships. And this definitely helps you to lead and have that influence. When you're working with people every day, you need to have that good relationship, especially so that you can have more collaboration and you can get stuff done more effectively. I'm sure we've all been at a certain point in our career. I know for me, where I really needed something done and I had a good relationship with that person, so they were more obliged to help me. And also, being a leader, you want people to be able to say, hey, she's a good person, she knows how to get things done, she genuinely cares, about her team and about others. And when you're building those strong relationships, they can really see that. And make sure that you're genuine, when you build those relationships. It's not just about what you can get out of the person. And I think that really defines, that leadership and that influence. So becoming an indispensable product manager in 2024 is no easy task, but if you can really focus on these areas, you can not only improve yourself as a product manager, but you can also drive the organization forward. So if you found this video helpful, please click the like and subscribe button and place your comments below. I always love hearing from you. And as always, I'll see you soon.